you cannot have an umbrella blanket taxation on like anything and everything. It has to be carved out. It has to be thought through with the way the sector functions, how much component of it is informal, formal, the trade practices, the material flows, and maybe some synergy with regards to EPR credits and tax, some sort of tax credits for recycled material and so forth. I think moving on to the next topic, and I would head to Gurashish for this because your work over the past decade has been largely technology led innovations that you've done with regards to primarily plastic and dry waste channelization. How do you see, or maybe what is your observation on the way technology has evolved, because it is definitely a major enabler. It fills a lot of gaps that the market and the regulation leaves in the market, and technology helps bridge those gaps. So what is your experience on this technology evolution, and what do you think on the regulator side, embracing the technology for either mandating, governing, monitoring all these regulatory mandates? Your take.
So 10 years ago when we started, right, recycling was majorly informal, unorganized, invisible. But right now it's becoming mainstream and tech enabled. Tech enablement and transparency is very, very important. Whether it's on the collection side of things, where there's digital traceability and geotagging of waste flows, wallet-based payments to waste collectors, AI IoT smart, AI IoT enabled smart sorting systems at MRF. So that is very, very important. From the government front, we've seen paperwork move into the EPR platform that they currently have. Whether the electronic trading platform works, doesn't work, again debatable. But things are changing. Brands are asking for transparency. If not just from the again coming back to recyclates being used, EHS standards are important, and waste needs to be traced in case brands really need to use them. So in the last 10 years, I have seen personally a growing interest from whether it's from definitely the brand side for use of technology in waste management and waste related activities. What I would like to see is the same being implemented at the government
Absolutely.
level as well, and becoming a mandation from the government level.
So I would now want to move to Mr. Ajit Salvi. I mean, so you've been quietly listening to various perspectives on regulation, market dynamics, but I think what is the most important layer is your local government layer, wherein the policy, planning, implementation all meet together. And that is where, I mean, if I just take Gurashi's point forward, where in some level of, so there are two layers. First is at the regulatory level with regards to your EPR platform or the electronic trading platform and so forth. But also at the local government level, how are you seeing these, urban governance playing a role in waste management and in ecosystem enabling and informal to formal transition, and maybe to some extent what role technology plays in terms of replacing the otherwise manual processes at a local and implementation level?
Thank you. I'm listening lots of complaints about the GST and all that. Okay. But anyway, let us have some other aspects also. See, Vakaria ji was talking about the domestic waste collection, and I think I'm going to answer something about that. So to be very frank, whatever we are talking about, whether it is a PRS or BRS or what, see, one is what from the industries, that is okay. That is, we can manage, we can control. But the only thing is what particularly from the waste management from the residential or say commercial sector, or you can say we call it as what waste collected by the urban local bodies. That is difficult, not easy to manage. Why? The reason I'm telling you. The reason is what? So you can go for recycling, the possible, but the idea remains is what? There should be a proper segregation. More than 20 years, we spend only what? Segregation into wet waste and dry waste. And even with due respect as a citizens, please tell me how much we are successful. Let us forget that. So how much we are successful. So that is one thing. But at the same time, there are good things. There are good things are also happening. Now 2024 solid waste management rule is will be implemented soon. So that it is though it is a SWM 2024, but it is supposed to implement after 1st October 2025. In this particular rule, they are talking about segregation still on a higher side. It is not. Say, I can give the actual example also. I was while talking to other, say before say lunch. So what you will find, we see on a WhatsApp that Indore is the first city, or first rank and all. They are segregating in a 7 different types of the waste. 7 different types of the waste. So that answers you the recycling. That answers you the recycling. See, the important thing is what? Keep 5 years back, 10 years back, while talking in the conferences, we used to give the example from the Europe, from the foreign. What are the good things are happening there? But it is no longer required. Now some good things are happening in India also. And it is not only Indore. You go to Surat and you will find that there is a good example of C&D waste management. That is possible. Okay. You go to Panji, you can see a good waste management practices they are following. That is what segregation. And then whatever you say, finally it is what? I am coming to the recycling part. So that is possible and they are happening in India. Now aspect is what? See, up to yesterday it was what? Recycling or whatever you say, that was a secondary aspect on the government side. But now, don't go by actual word, but now it is not the secondary aspect. It is the focus, or you can say it is the primary aspect of the every urban local bodies as per the rules, as per the guidelines by the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, that they should go for the recycling. Now I can give you the another example also. Let us not talk about the only solid part, maybe a ferrous metal, non-ferrous metal, plastic. Let me give one more example which nobody must have thought about. Let us think about the water, okay? And water finally it is converted into wastewater. Again, till yesterday we were talking about the linear economy, that is what water is collected, used it and then it is thrown. Now it is not there. As per the guidelines of the government, at least minimum 20% you have to go for recycling. So that is what the thing.
And utilization.
Yes, yeah, and utility.
That's end user responsibility.
Yes.
That's a parallel of EPR.
EPR, that is the responsibility.
EUR.
And not only that, to take it as a mandate in Mumbai, they are going for 50% recycle and reuse of the treated wastewater in Mumbai. That is what the target, that is what their objective. And over a period of time, maybe 100%. You are talking about the informal sector. Okay, that also I am going to answer. See, there is what two answers, I can say 2 examples. When you talk about the solid waste, see again, old solid waste management rule, that this informal, he was talking about the kabadiwalas and all that. But unless and until I take into the consideration this informal sector, my solid waste is not completed 100%. We have to take into account that. Usko tum jo whatever you say, the name, whatever you say, sapai wala bolo, kachara wala. But we have to take into account. Without them, my entire cycle is not completed. Now, as a result, that SWM 2024, there is an official mention of integration of what this unauthorized sector, or you can say that sector of the solid waste or the collection center, we have to take into account. And for that purpose, maybe a community-based organization, we can take the help of that community-based organization also. And that is possible. Otherwise, what happens? My point is what? This particular point, otherwise it goes into waste and that becomes unlimited and unmanageable. As a urban local bodies, looking to the urban local bodies, if I can do this, or we can implement all these things properly, the further aspect, whatever we are thinking from this PRS or BRS, that will be easy to implement. So far GST part, I do not have answer.
No, GST was not an agenda at all, sir. In fact, this is important because when we talk about technology, it should be equally adopted at both ends. And here we are not talking about hard.
One minute, sorry. Say that was but at the same time, technology part. But say if you talk about the liquid waste, we can go for PPP model also.
Absolutely.
That is also possible, where you can use a high-end technology providers, and they can go for a PPP model. They can use it. Yes. So my point is what? Go for integration of informal sector, and we can go for high-end technology provider. that is also possible. It is not only informal sector. We want good technology providers.
I understand. No one would be better equipped on wastewater management in a city like Mumbai than you, because you've spearheaded it for so many years. And Mumbai does treat its wastewater, but all of it goes back to the ocean because we do not have a captive market to consume treated water. That's the pain point. So thank you so much for bringing that dimension, sir. I think a lot of other points that I wanted to touch base on with regards to informal sector integration were addressed, with regards to what kind of incentives with regards to EPR and tax synergy is to be maintained, that is discussed. The role of technology, and I think one takeaway from what the point that Gurashish also mentioned is having these mechanism, and we're not talking about technology as hard processing technology, but the technology as an enabler. We talk about collection, we talk about route optimization, we talk about traceability, that may address a lot of pain points that is presently existing in the system. And adding up to what Dr. Vakhari also mentioned, I mean, if we have right channel to track, so it basically diminishes the distance between the black and white and bring things to for. Before the organizers raises a buzzer on me to discuss, I think we have covered most of the topic, but we will circle back on a few more questions. Before that, I would want to open the floor for audience for any questions that you may have for the panelist. One small request: whoever is raising a question, please take your name, your organization's name, and the panelist whom you're directing. Any questions from audience?
You'll have to give her the mic.
Yeah, 1 second. News of introduce.
Hello, myself Babita from APN News. My question is, what is the biggest barrier for recycling?
Formal recycling.
No, I just written it. What is the biggest barrier to scaling effective recycling program globally?
So you're saying recycling in India to be of global standards, or maybe some global synergy?
Yes.
Ma'am, if you ask me as a recycler, I would say India is far ahead, because the biggest thing in recycling is collection. If you collect, you 100% recycle. If you don't collect, it will go to the landfill or to the sea. And India is far ahead in its collection targets. Only thing is, it goes to the parallel industry or it comes to the legal industry. The legal industry figures are showing very low because it goes to the parallel industry. So the concept of recycling starts with collection. So you look at it logically. Whatever you collect, आपके घर से मेरे घर से is always recycled. कबाड़ी वाला जो लेके जाता है वो कभी कुछ फेंकता नहीं है. या तो प्लास्टिक होगा, मेटल होगा, जो भी होगा वो 100% रिसाइकल होता ही है. So the crux of recycling is to collect world over. And even the EPR has been created in EU. They want to collect because they are not able to collect. It goes to the waste, and there is no one. They don't have the manpower to bring it, segregate it from the waste. So it goes to the landfill. So the targets that I mentioned, that they had targeted 2025 with 50% collection, which they achieved only at 23%, is for collection. Recycling, if it's collected, it will definitely be recycled. So that's the thing.
And how are EPR laws impacting recycling programs and businesses?
In India or abroad?
In India.
In India, there is too much ambiguity. There is ambiguity on the producer side. There is ambiguity on the recycler side. There is ambiguity on the actual modalities. So unless all this is streamlined, it is difficult to give anything, whether it is successful, not successful. The MOEF will always say it is successful. In our discussion, MOEF will say, "Arey, you don't know what figures we have." So they are presenting the figures. But at ground level, there are a lot of ambiguous questions that can be raised. So it will take some time because it just come in. Now they are coming in one by one commodity. So it will take some time before we can take any call on this. Thank you.
Just to add on, as far as the collection right now, I mean rightly mentioned, the and the strongest backbone in India, like in Mumbai Dabbawalas, similarly across nation, Kashmir to Kanyakumari, the strongest backbone of informal sector is a reverse logistic network what they have. Whatever they purchase from your house or office, it goes to the right channel up to Delhi where maximum things are being processed in the country, or to other corners, other centers. But everything goes because they have paid you money for anything, whatever they have purchased from your house. So the biggest channel is that. In my opinion, we should not be so ambitious to become 100% recycling country, but we should leave aside 50% for the informal sector, and which is generated at the domestic level or small shops and MSME companies. If we focus only on 50% of what is being generated in India, like in case of e-waste, it is 5.6 million metric ton today. We are 1.4 billion population and each one of us generate 4 kg of e-waste. So we are 5.6 million metric ton we are generating. The number is expected to touch to 8 kg per capita by 2030, and by then population will be 1.5 billion. So it is going to be 12 million metric ton. If we leave aside that 6 million metric ton, our present generation 2.8 million metric ton for informal, believe me, all these discussions will really come down drastically. Because then your focus is business, and which you can control, as rightly mentioned by Salu Sahab also. Businesses, at least they can control. But domestic, it is difficult. Even, see, I'm in the business for 20 years and I'm asking my wife to sell her laptop to me. She said, Salimba is giving me 500, you are offering 300. Why should I sell it to you? Simple. And this is a very right example. So we should not envisage more than that. As far as EPR is concerned, just to make the moment lighter, if EPR in the present sense, it is environment protection ruled out.
Yeah, just to add on, madams, your questions that how India is doing, performing in terms of the global market. India is also following the international standard while doing whatever we are totally relying on the scraps which is coming into the India. So we are following the ISRI standard, that is the internationally recognized standard. That is one point. Secondly, we are proudly wants to say that the scrap collections as well as the sortings, we are giving the employment to the low strata women, okay, especially in the village and all, and they are really inherently skilled enough themselves to find out the various grades of the scraps, like which is the copper, which is the aluminum. Within that as well, Pugalia sir is over here. He can add on his own views on that. But we are really proud to say that we are giving the employment to the informal players as well as the women, especially in the low strata. They are very skilled enough for themselves to find out which are the various grades. So these are the biggest advantage while doing the working in the recycling industry, and really we are doing wonderfully in terms of the global standard. Whereas the internationally it has been all these scrap collections as well as these sorting does by the various technological machines. Whereas our small recyclers cannot afford to invest that much money in the technology, but our women are really doing a wonderful job while doing this segregation and sorting. Thank you.
I think valuable inputs, and when we look at recycling and when we also compare to global, I think there are 3 rates that are important. What is the collection rate, what is the recycling rate, and what is the recovery rate? Globally, particularly in Europe, it's what is the reported rate of collection. In India, the strength, as Mr. Soni also highlighted, is the collection rate. And if you do not have high rates of collection, the rates of recycling and recovery already goes down. And what remains the point of focus is how the recycling and recovery is happening, and that is aligned to the environmental component of it. Any more questions? Any more feedback from the audience, please?
This is Sachin from Global Prime News. So, what key changes are needed to strengthen India's recycling sector? Key policy changes.
Absolutely. So, I mean, this is something which I also wanted to explore. What key policy levers are further needed to further strengthen the formal recycling ecosystem in India? Mr. Soni, Dr. Vakharia, Gurashish.
So basically, as I said, EPR, yes, should not be in the same form. we should adapt it to our parallel industry existence in India. Look at it at ground level, because the person who has drafted the EPR policy has never recycled anything of commercial value, commercial quantity in his life. He's going purely by the theoretical document. And he's looking at EU document, he's looking at Japan document, he's looking at all these documents and then making our document. But the need is to see the ground level situation and create a document. So it should not necessarily be an EPR. As I said, the buying consumer incentivizes the disposing consumer. So if today I am disposing from my house, just as Soni ji ने बोला कि उनकी wife उनको laptop देने के लिए तैयार नहीं है, right? But if his wife is getting an incentive from the government where she is getting an income tax off for 500 rupees, right? She's going to say, अच्छा मुझे 300 मिल रहा है, 500 रुपये income tax में मिल रहा है, 800 रुपये मैं देती हूँ आपको. So that is the kind of thing we have to look at ground policy. If it gets legalized at that point, 100% throughout, recycling is happening. Recycling is happening in India at every point. Today, if I am recycling copper, मेरा waste भी recycle हो रहा है. What waste is coming out of my manufacturing is getting recycled. What even the steel, everything is getting recycled. So India is far ahead in its recycling. Maybe we are not complying with ESG. There needs to be an education. There needs to be some awareness. But the policy should be ground friendly, so that actual what is happening in the industry today is a part of the policy. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Vakharia.
I don't have much to add at this point of time. Let's have.
Sure. So I think
Just to,
yeah, please.
I just wanted to suggest to answer to your questions. What India as a recycler industry expect? We want this single comprehensive recycling policy which will transform the waste management sectors into the resource material management sectors. Thereby we will be promoting our sustainable as well as a sustainable economy in terms of the global standards. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sir, to answer your question, if you look at it in the middle, I mentioned, but then I didn't specify it. When we are talking of EPR, every commodity has a different document of EPR, right? It's not only a document, different concept. If you look at ELV, end of life vehicle policy, right? What is it based on? So there is an organization called CM, Society for Indian Automobile Manufacturers. They are the ones who are promoting ELV recycling. So they are very strong body. They are very financially also very strong, because they are all the automobile manufacturers, starting from Maruti, Toyota, everyone. All of them are there in there. Now what they have done is, they said, okay, EPR and all, you put it aside. Okay, I'm just giving it as a discussion, so please take it at face value, right? So what they have done, today they realize that we have put up the plants, we don't have raw material for it, because the people are not disposing their cars. So how do you encourage the people to dispose their cars? So they said, okay, you encourage the consumer. So how do you encourage the consumer? One, you get the scrap value of the car, okay, which you're going to get anyways. Second, you get a certificate called scrapping certificate. That certificate, if you go back to the manufacturer honors you to 5 to 6% of your new car buying. The government has been encouraged that road tax is given a discount. Your registration tax is also given a discount. So if you see, you are getting on a new car purchase against the sale of the old scrap car, right, up to 2.5 lakhs, depending on the value of the car that you're purchasing. So the scrap person is paying, say, 80,000 rupees. These guys are paying 50,000 rupees, but that 50,000 rupees is accompanied with a certain set of incentives, which is now encouraging the consumer to sell his car in scrap instead of selling it in a kabadi environment where the materials are getting reused, not recycled. So this is buying consumer is incentivizing the disposing consumer. So this concept should be encouraged to remove the parallel nature of the business in India and make it a legal trade.
I think respecting the timelines, there's scope to just take one final question from audience before we take a concluding round of remarks from the panelists.
How is the second edition of this PRSI India going to be different from the first edition?
Well, that is something which was honestly not a part of this panel discussion agenda. So maybe the organizers can tell you more about it. So this is something which you can discuss with the organizers. They will be able to throw better light on it. So I think it was a very insightful, and with knowledge, experience, wisdom came a lot of insights on the table, which I'm sure everyone will take away with their respective sectors. We touched on a lot of sectors. Electronics, metal, plastic, dry waste, solid waste, water, construction. We touched upon everything, and I think few important takeaways is first is EPR. You cannot have one shoe fit all. You cannot just have one single EPR policy and we straight away go and apply to each waste stream which is happening so far. It needs to be calibrated with the way industry is operating. We talked about incentivization and some synergy between EPR credits and tax credits and incentivization. We discussed about how urban governance play a role and what is the role of technology which has shaped in the last decade or so, and how do we see it going forward. To get concluding remarks from our panelists, maybe quick 25-30 seconds, remarks on what intervention either on the regulation or on the policy or on market correction or on people technology do you think should be prioritized to truly unlock the circular value of the waste in India? A quick take on which part you would want to maybe prioritize.
So basically, we want this central and the state government which is involved in this process of the policy framework for the successful implementation. So there should be good coordination between this central and state. That is what I would like to suggest from my side.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, 2 points. For the success of EPR now, completely different. When EPR came into existence, Vakharia Sahab has already said about the gentleman who has thought in the morning and wrote down a note, and EPR has become. The EPR was primarily introduced for the purpose when the producers, big brands, had already invested billions of dollars into the production. But unfortunately, the buying was not happening in that proportion. So they came out with an idea of taking back so that it does not go into the market, secondary market and all. So take back from the first user, known as EPR, Extended Producer's Responsibility. This is how it came in European Union. Now the same producers are feeling a pinch of it because their sales have gone up substantially, and therefore the cost of EPR is so much in absolute numbers, and that is why they are opposing and not favoring to the market. Otherwise, they themselves wanted earlier because to boost up the sale under the name of EPR. Now it is other way around. Secondly, to all of us, if you sell your laptop even for 500 rupees, which I will suggest to my wife to sell it to Salim Bhai, no problem. But she can only buy one pizza out of that, nothing more than that. But then she will be paying double the price to the environmental impact as well as to her stomach. So it is better to save the medical expenses. I will suggest all of you, please opt for recycling. Wherever you see the boxes of collection and all, I know it is very tough to walk extra mile to deposit your e-waste, but as far as I'm not marketing here, but at the same time I'm informing, if you want to avail of these services, we have Book My Junk mobile application. You can very well register. Even if you have one charger at home which is costing you, may fetch you 5 rupees, and it cost me 500 rupees to collect from your home. I am doing that for last 7 years. 5 vehicles are there on the streets every day. And every day it is going to the houses to collect under the name of Book My Junk. And I am proud to share this has been admired by the Prime Minister himself in his Mann Ki Baat, 97th Mann Ki Baat, and Ecorico's circular economy's contribution. So, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Soni.
Yes, in a 30-second answer.
Thank you so much.
Yes. So from urban governance point of view, I would like to focus, I expect there should be a behavioral change aspects are very much needed. Otherwise, our citizens, they expect everything from the government. They don't want to do anything.
Yeah, we need to have a civic sense towards waste management. Dr. Zakaria, your take.
Yeah, so my take is that the industry, recycling industry, has existed from before the government thought about circular economy. So there was no regulation, there was nothing there. From that time, people are recycling. So the government is the late entrant. Correct. So the government has to make sure that the industry we are given a policy after it is made, and then said, okay, now you give your comments on it. And with the comments we give are put aside, it is just a paperwork that is created, and then the policy goes ahead with the way they want. So that is where I feel the government is faulting, because if you come actual to the industry, you will find stalwarts like Soniji, you will find so many stalwarts who have spent their life in this field. So why is the government so shy of having actual participation? And there are people who are ready to do it just for the sake of the love of recycling. Right. Recycling has given us an identity.
I have spent 40 years in recycling.
So Parulaji is 40 years in this entire industry. So what is the harm in having an open discussion where people voice, just as today we are having a discussion?
Right.
So same way the government should organize. Why BRS is organizing? The government should organize something before making the policy, not after making the policy. So even we've been called for discussions for the EPR policy, we gave objections, but the policy came in the way it was drafted. So this is where we need to change our way. If Thomas Lindquist in EU Parliament gave some suggestion which was got the thing, he's a common man. He's actually a professor in a university. So why is the Indian government not looking at it in the same manner? Thank you.
Grashish, your thoughts.
Very quick. 3 points: inclusivity, traceability, and strict implementation of any policy backed by enabled by technology. That's it.
Perfect. I think that brings us to conclusion of this discussion. Thank you so much to the esteemed panelists on bringing their diverse experience. Please, sir. Okay.
Soniji, you said that your cars are moving around. I would like to, because I have had a lot of discussion. The problem is payments. Today, if you are collecting from the domestic, how do you record the payments?
Hear you. Put it on.
How do you record the payments? Because today, if you've collected in the entire day, say 20,000 worth of material from 100 houses, so each house is you pay by UPI or by cash, and how do you account for it in your books of accounts?
Superb. So first and foremost, there are two different types of generators of e-waste. One who loves the environment and one who loves money. Even if I pay you the highest price for your e-waste, Kabadi can pay more than that. Therefore, we don't pay anything. We just serve only to the environment conscious persons, and our target is only 1 lakh person in Bombay, nothing more than that, out of 3 crore. Just 1 lakh. Don't we have 1 lakh people who can give their e-waste free of cost? Still they expect some pizza to buy out of that only? Please change that habit. 1 lakh ambassador in Mumbai can change the 30 million people later on, for sure.
So basically we had a problem here when we had discussion with CBIC. How will the payment happen? So the collection will happen at the domestic, but then the domestic person doesn't want to take a check payment or a thing, because the kabadiwala is not trustworthy enough to take a check payment. And if he takes a UPI payment, he has to pay income tax on that, because that becomes a direct profit for him. He cannot show it as a sale. So that was one of the biggest hurdles to solving the entire problem. So that is where we have also suggested that you give them a scrapping certificate. Besides whatever money they are exchanging, you give them a scrapping certificate.
Takeaways point. Basically, we urge the government to implement the minimum recycling content, which is 30 to 35% in the manufacturing process. That will enhance the market for the recycling products as well. This is what I would like to suggest. Thank you.
Thank you. That draws us to conclusion.